Hi there, this is the second video from RUDH about traffic. We're going to focus on traffic, we're going to focus on bridges today. I wanted to start out by mentioning that we are Responsible Urban Development for Houston. We are a nonprofit group, we have no employees, we're all volunteer, and we depend on donations from the community to help us. We've used it for experts. We've hired the economist and we've hired the traffic engineer. We need to hire a structural engineer, and I think you'll definitely see why after you watch this video. So please, we accept donations at rudh.org. We can also get them through stopheightswalmart.org, or you can mail a check there to the address you see, P.O. Box 7834, Houston 77270. I wanted to start out with a site condition update. I have labeled the low-income apartment complex just west of Heights, in between Heights and Yale, and the Dirt Bar, which was a building right up next to there. Those buildings have been torn down and leveled, and where the Dirt Bar used to be, TxDOT's currently using that as a kind of a staging area for the work ongoing on the feeder roads. A quick correction. I'd mentioned in the webinar videos, which are available, by the way, at rudh.org in the news section. I mentioned that I had heard that the Yale Street Bridge had been reinforced, but I've since clarified we don't know of any reinforcements to the Yale Street Bridge. The reinforcements actually referred to the Heights Street Bridge over White Oak Bayou. The Heights Street Bridge is not a load zone bridge. If you watch the report I did on the webinar or been paying attention, you know that the Yale Street Bridge is a load zone bridge. I wanted to give y'all a quick update on the March 24th meeting. We met with the city. This was our second meeting with the city. We raised a number of issues with them. You see here those that were there. We were very happy to see Sarah Melicky from State Representative Farrar's office, who's the representative for our district here, the district where the Walmart is proposed. Michael Halpin's a very nice gentleman from Sheila Jackson Lee's office. And of course, Councilman Gonzalez and his staff arranged the meeting, and we're appreciative. The main players there at the city are Mr. Weatherford. He's in the public works. He's a director. Mr. Lothan is also a director of planning. Mr. Richard Smith is a traffic engineer and works for the city. Mr. Icken is very recognizable in this whole debate. He was also in attendance. The issues we discussed, 4 main ones, and these are the ones we're going to focus on in the video. The load zone bridge, Yale Street over White Oak, the Bass Street connection in 2 different fashions, the missing HCM data, which we as citizens needed to verify the TIA results, and we finally got them, and you're going to hear all about it in just a second. And of course the missing OR development, the entire retail development representing 25% of the area retail, totally missing. Didn't get very far with them on that one. We'll talk about it. I wanted to start out with this. We got the missing data, and I wish I could say we were surprised, but we weren't surprised to find that the actual HCM signalized reports concluded to a different levels of service than those that were reported in the TIA. This is exactly why we wanted to verify it, and now we know. You see here everything that I've circled in red, and I want to immediately say this is a confusing. These are confusing tables. I want to point out the top 2 tables, those go together, and the bottom 2 tables, those go together. Okay, so we had to do it this way because the TIA used TxDOT's numbers, but they also used the city's numbers. So they really did 2 reports in one, and they kind of talk about why they did it that way. I won't get into it here. You can watch the webinar if you want to learn more about this exact issue. But if you look on the left, those are the actual levels of service. The top table is using the TxDOT Kimley Horn numbers, and the bottom is using the sugar-coated City of Houston numbers. But it doesn't matter what numbers you use. Everything circled in red indicates a lower grade, a lower level of service in the actual HCM reports when compared to what was reported in the TIA. And they try to explain why that is, because it essentially confirms everything we were saying. We suspected they wouldn't give them to us because they would show exactly this, that 8 of the 10 intersections were actually worse. Of the ones that changed, 8 of the 10 were actually worse in the real reports. And Kimley Horn said, Kimley Horn's the developer's engineering firm. I've underlined it there. That says HCM delay calculations vary from synchros delay calculations. So he's saying HCM, which is what's required by the city, those calculations vary slightly from the synchro delays, which were the ones that they did include in the appendix, the smoke screen, if you will. Well, slightly. I'll let y'all be the judges. That slightly, when 10 intersections are actually different, when you look at the real reports, the ones the city requires, 8 of the 10 are actually worse, and they say slightly. Well, I guess their definition of slightly is different than mine. I wanted to throw this in here too. We hired a traffic engineer, and he wrote a letter about it. We showed him everything that we had found out and gave him the HCM signalized data when we finally got it. And he has ripped into people at Kimley Horn and notified the city and TxDOT of what he thought of the differences between the HCM signalized report and what was reported in the TIA. The TIA that claims to be fully compliant with the city regulations. Just to read a few of these out, because this is so unbelievable. He says, the HCM delay calculations may vary slightly, but he says some of the calculated delays vary between varied between the two methodologies by as much as 86%. There were 18 instances where the difference in delays was more than 20%. 19 instances where the difference in delays was more than 20%. He says that when engineers encounter such differences, it presents a red flag for us to re-examine the intersection analysis and prompts us to make additional runs until we find we have the appropriate intersection analysis. He asked Kimley Horn, could you re-examine your output and provide his firm with the final analysis of the anticipated delays? And this was like 2 weeks ago, the date there, April 8th. Nothing. We haven't heard anything back. And we've sent this to the city, and we're on radio silence. But we've got some meetings coming up, so we're definitely got some irons in the fire. Okay, let's talk about the Bass Street connection real quick. If you watched my webinar, you know that we were real upset. TxDOT was requiring a 40-foot curb width for the Bass Street connection. Bass Street is I thought I had I guess I didn't include the map here. Maybe I've got something in just a second. But TxDOT was requiring a 40-foot curb width to connect Bass Street to its frontage road. And as I reported at the end of the webinar, we were real disappointed. TxDOT reviewed some new city proposal at the end of March and decided that a 35-foot curb width was going to be okay. Well, we've written a letter to TxDOT that included these schematics that were drawn up by a professional traffic engineer. The one on the left shows a 35-foot intersection, and the roadways are designated by the red lines. And you see that there that it's you've got east up on these diagrams. That's the 3-lane feeder you see going up and down, and then that's the Bass Street connection where it curves there with those 2 lanes with the center turn lane showing.